Hello, I'm Bernadette Brady, and myself and Darren Gunsberg are going to be coming to San Diego on the 2nd and 3rd of June next month to do a weekend of astrology. And the first day, the Saturday, is going to be on visual astrology. And I thought what I'd just do for you is give you a sort of a 5, 6, 7 minute little introduction to visual astrology, just to give you an idea of what we're going to do, because it is a new and a different thing. To give you this example, I've got the chart here of Hans Christian Andersen. Now, Hans Christian Andersen is that wonderful Danish storyteller who was born in 1805, 2nd of April 1805. And what he did was he collected up all the stories that he could find for children, and he wrote them down. And as a result of that, we now actually have them in our culture. So if we look at his chart, and here it is here, you can see that there is a Saturn-Uranus conjunction on his MC sitting there in Libra. And you can see horoscopically it's opposite the Sun and the Mercury in his chart. And we know as astrologers that such an opposition like that across the IC-MC axis would have a very powerful impact on his life. And we also know that the Saturn-Uranus conjunction part of it would actually have a very strong statement to make in terms of what he does in his life, his career, and how he's seen in his life. So a question rises in the mind of any astrologer is what is more? What more information can we get about that Saturn-Uranus? Is there more we can find out? Because whatever we find out is going to be very relevant for his career, his standing, his life, his drives, his motivations. And what we can do is we can actually step off of the horoscope and step into the sky. And if I do this here, this is in Starlight, but you don't need Starlight to do this. You can do this with any planetarian software. Here we've got his chart, and here we have a section of the night sky. And indeed, if I zoom out here, you'll see the celestial sphere. Here we've got the celestial sphere. The green line here, this is the horizon line. The black is above the horizon. The green is below the horizon. The purple line here, or the pink line here, is the ecliptic. And indeed, we're looking at the western side here, where the ecliptic is going below the horizon, so that's the descendant, this part of his chart here. And all we've got here is we've got his horoscope, but now in 3 dimensions, in the whole celestial sphere. And this was the original way astrology used to be done, looking at the whole 3 dimensions, simply looking at the night sky and reading what was going on. The constellations were empowered with our stories, our mythology, and some of that mythology goes back to, maybe 100,000 years or so, a Paleolithic period. Some of it is very, very ancient. Keeping this short, if we have a look at his Saturn-Uranus conjunction, Hans Christian Andersen, we look in the sky and we can see here it was actually amongst the stars of Virgo when he was born. And I'm just going to zoom in so we can see it. Here it is here. So let's make the sky bigger and let's look at what this tells us about his horoscope. So let's just go to the whole sky. Now, if I click on this, if I click on this, we can get the image of Virgo. Bring it down low so you can see it away from the webcam. So here is Uranus amongst the stars of Virgo. Here's an image of Virgo, and here's Uranus right about here, just about here in Virgo. That's where it's sitting. There's a lot we can talk about with regards to the constellation Virgo, and there's a lot we can talk about with regards to Uranus. Very, very briefly, Uranus is often associated with revolution and being independent and different, but we discovered Uranus when the world was in revolution, the year of revolutions. However, what makes a revolution is the voice of the common folk. What makes a unique individual is an individual who wants to stand out amongst the common folk, is aware of the common folk. In many ways, Uranus is the common folk, popular culture in our society and how we relate to it. Now, wherever Uranus falls in the sky map, we're going to get insight into that person's way of engaging with popular culture. When Hans Christian Andersen was born, it was right here in the wheat sheaf of Virgo. So let's now briefly look at the story of Virgo. Virgo used to govern the summer solstice sunrise position at the time of Paleolithic time, really a time of transition, a time when we moved from the hunter-gatherer to the agriculturalist, where there was this shift occurring in human civilization. It didn't happen instantly, it was a slow shift, but they think now it's probably happened over, not over 500 years, but maybe over only 100 years or so, particularly in Europe. So the shift is reasonably fast given the history of things. Now, Virgo represents on many levels the goddess, the earth, etc. And she's giving the wheat sheaf. She represents the mythology that we placed in the sky at this time, where she's giving the knowledge of agriculture. This is not a modern construct. This is not something we just whacked on from the work of Alan Leo in the recent last 50 years of astrology. Virgo has been giving the wheat sheaf to humanity for thousands of years. It's a very ancient piece of mythology that we have placed upon this part of the sky, layer upon layer upon layer, generation after generation after generation. And now, when we actually get planets located here around the wheat sheaf, it's telling us that that part of the person's horoscope is visually engaged with that piece of mythology. So when we go back to Hans Christian Andersen, if I turn this off and we go back to his chart, and probably you can't see the Saturn-Uranus in there, I'll pull that down. This Uranus is part of his career, part of how we know him. And now when we look at it in the sky, we actually see that it is to do with something to do with the common folk, the Uranus, as well as to passing on a legacy, giving us a gift. So this doesn't say children's stories, but it tells us that his Saturn-Uranus is going to do something different, but this something is going to be very much to do with collecting something to do with the common folk. And he is really an oral historian, and it's a beautiful expression of that. We can sort of whiz around as well. If we look at his Mars, and if I just click along the ecliptic here, there's just something else to show you very quickly. Here's his Mars in the constellation Cancer. And the constellation Cancer is, you see his Mars is right here. The constellation Cancer just contains, in that area, right where the Mars is, a little cluster of stars called the Nursery. And if you have a planet there, that planet is focused into the story of growing something, the whole mythological momentum of giving birth to something or creating something. And his Mars is there, so he's motivated to leave a legacy, to plant a seed that will grow. And this is really beautiful. So we actually have this wonderful, wonderful storyteller and collective storytellers, the man who actually acts as the vehicle to pass those stories on into future generations, stories from the common folk. Little things, children's stories, how insignificant according to the world of bankers, but little things, a vital part of our culture. And he has his planet, which is on his MC, to do with the common folk. There was Spiker, to collect and to give and to be blessed. And he has his Mars, his motivation, in this place of the Nursery. So it's a lovely example of visual astrology informing us more richly about the dynamics of the horoscope. So this is the sort of thing we're going to do on Saturday. Bring your charts along. We'll try and look at as many charts as possible. We'll look at charts to show you as much as the sky as what we can possibly share with you. And bring your recorders along if you want to record it. It will be a lot of fun. So hopefully I'll see you there, as well as Darren will see you there. Okay, bye-bye.